The long and winding road that leads to your door.
Change comes swiftly. Picture post-World War II America waking from its slumber. We had Father Ike looking after us while we were busy catching up our personal lives, going to school, marrying, having babies, in that order, buying homes and living the American dream.
Suddenly, from behind the white picket fence, a guy in blue suede shoes swiveled his ball-bearing hips, and the revolution was on. John Fitzgerald Kennedy became the first Roman Catholic president in our country's history in 1960. Change was in the air.
Now picture a liberal but traditional downtown church, thriving and active with more than 500 members and a much-admired minister. The only Unitarian church in the area, First Church, was the urban home to a geographically diverse congregation.
At a time before women were discovered to think, the Church Fathers had tentatively investigated expansion to Catonsville and Towson for Unitarian fellowship. A move to Towson became ever more attractive to a small group of Baltimore County residents.
One of our early issues was whether we should actually stay in the Towson area. That was much later when we bought this property and so on, because the feeling was amongst some that we should be in the city and dealing with the city issues of that. Here we were in the affluent burbs.
That was a big issue.
Yes, it was.
And many of the people that were with us felt that moving out here to the boondocks wouldn't help, because the people that we really wanted to reach were the people probably that didn't have cars or something like that. So we were very concerned about that.
But leaving their first church home was not easy. Amidst the gathering storm of the civil rights movement, there was guilt in abandoning the urban battleground and unease about where their efforts could be most effective in this momentous struggle.
With the Jones Falls Expressway still a dream, the long Sunday drive downtown was wearing. And besides, the founders wanted a place where their children could enjoy church-related activities in addition to the weekly Sunday school session.
I think it was mainly because it was quite a distance from Towson, and our children, all three of them, were young, and we thought if we had a closer church, they might be interested in doing some of the activities the young people do. So we were among the first handful to have a meeting to decide we should have a Towson church, and it all got started right there. We were charter members.
Nonetheless, they wanted to create a church community where they could discuss and act on their philosophical views.
So as far as our beginnings, of course there was a lot of early enthusiasm, a lot of interest in those weighty, heavy, burning, existential questions that we still struggle with. We carried on. It was a lot of determination, a lot of commitment. And at the same time, again, a strong sense of community and participation. And as I look back, that's innate, but we were not looking for a good time or entertainment as much as we were mostly young families who were dealing with these profound questions and sharing our insights.
That it is, first of all, the use of reason in defining our standards of behavior, our ethics, and the development of a conscience relative to the things that we have learned are right, ethical, and socially constructive, and personally wholesome, helpful, and golden rule and all that, development of a conscience relative to those things, and the discipline to so live, and then tolerance for those who do not agree with us, do not see things the same way.
The more the group talked about founding a new church in the suburbs, the more excited they became until, finally, one evening at the Sobel's house, 6 men agreed to push forward.
Well, several people got together. I think there were 6 men at the first meeting. I was the woman serving coffee. At that time, women did not usher and did not go to organizational meetings. But since it was in front of my house, I could hear everything.
They had no idea where the money would come from or whether their dream could be realized, but they were determined.
There was a strong sense of community and common purpose in all the needs for to build a church.
Alex bought a new suit.
I remember that well because I bought a new suit at the time.
That's the last time we bought a suit.
Alex and Dr. Pettijohn met with the minister of First Church to inform him of their intent. While initially dismayed to be losing part of his congregation, Dr. Argo ultimately gave them his support.
Francis Pettijohn and myself had lunch with Dr. Argo and informed him that we were forming what we call a fellowship at the time. And we were forming a fellowship in Towson, and of course Dr. Argo wasn't too keen about hearing that, but
In January of 1960, the first service of the newly formed Towson Unitarian Fellowship was held in the Towson Women's Club.
The first service we had was in the Towson Women's Club, which we used to be in a Methodist church. And we had a choir the very first service, and piano playing and all that. We had everything with the very first service, except a minister. Well, that came later, and we had David Hicks McPherson.
This was a pay-as-you-go church. They paid the rent from the Sunday collection, and they paid for every other time they used the building. The sign announcing the Towson Unitarian Fellowship was only on view on Sundays. Anyone looking for the church on another day could only find the Women's Club.
And so it was really a do-it-yourself undertaking. And after the service in the upstairs in the assembly room, we would congregate downstairs in the lower level, and announcements were made by banging a key on the overhead pipes.
The services were lay-led, and members pitched in to do whatever needed doing. Some things never change. They planned the service, filled the pulpit, typed the letters, taught the Sunday schoolers, and swept the floors. One member wrote the newsletter, another ran it off on a mimeograph. Yet another member saw that they were delivered to the membership.
And that was a very exciting time, because the people that were here were so motivated, and that it's so catching, you know, you just, well.
Thanks to this teamwork, close bonds developed, and soon congregants became friends and began building a church, albeit without the bricks or sticks. Not only did they work to create a church, they liberally sprinkled the endeavor with fun. They had parties and dances and whole family gatherings. Joan recalls a costume party.
Well, we had a lot of parties, so then we decided to have a costume party. And we invited many people, including the Lees.
Here in the South?
That was the other house. Okay. It's a small little house. At that time, they lived in the Northwood area before they had their children, who were a little younger than my children, our children. Well, I remember Charlie came in a costume that didn't have much clothes on. I forgot what he was, but it was sort of mostly bare.